Today I'm going to cover the exercises to take you from zero to a tuck planche. These are my favorite drills that I use. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to use all of these drills. Have a play with them and pick the ones that you like and that you gel with. I'm personally doing this and I'm showing this on P-bars. You could do it on the floor. In the last 12, 18 months, all the planche work I've done has basically been on the floor. So I'm now trying to get up onto the P-bars, which a lot of people actually find a bit easier, but I'm actually finding harder. So I'm dropping back and doing some easier variations on the P-bars. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's jump in and have a look at the starting positions. So the biggie when you're ever doing any of the planche training is understanding what protraction is. So basically being able to do a scapula to push up. So this first movement that I'm doing here, I'm just going from retraction, so bringing the shoulder blades together and then pushing up to a protracted position. So that rounded upper back position. So that position there is the protraction, and then I can still get into the protraction, which is really important, up onto my toes, and then I'm leaning forwards into a protraction hold. Now, if you can't do this, this is what you need to spend your time on. You need to focus on here. You should be able to hold this protraction position up on toes for at least 30 seconds, ideally like 60 seconds, and we can ramp up the intensity by the amount you lean forwards. So even if you have, like on a good day, I can hold an okay straddle planche, and I can make this very hard for myself if I keep leaning forwards as far as I can and aiming to hold straight arms and full protraction. Where this next progression, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to lean forwards a little bit more, but now I'm going on the top of the toe, so I've started to turn over. Now this does make it a little bit harder. So things to look out for here is obviously we want to have straight arms, we want to have full protraction, and we want to not allow the hip to go higher than the shoulder. Now in the demo videos here, I'm holding for 30 seconds on each of these positions. And I'd recommend you use that as like your test position. Video from the side and make sure you've still got that strong protraction. Okay, next one I'm going to do exactly the same, but I'm going to bring one leg in. Now I'm trying to hold that same protracted position. I'm trying to keep the hip in line with the shoulder, and I'll see how I've turned the toe over. I do one leg and then I do the other leg. So I'm aiming for about 10-second holds on each one, or 10 to 15 seconds. So again, to get to the accumulate 30 seconds per set. This one's one of my favorite ones to help you understand how well you can hold control in that protraction. So I'm going to try and keep my hip and my shoulder exactly the same and the scapula in that protracted position. And ideally the torso doesn't change at all as I walk the feet in all the way to a tuck position and then walk the feet back out again. And ideally the weight in the toes, if anything decreases as you walk in, it definitely doesn't increase. So you'll see a lot of people will struggle with this as they walk in, their feet actually increase. So the weight in their feet increases. And again, I'll try and work within that 20 to 30 second time under tension for that one. Now a very similar one is now to go move to sliders. So you can use cardboard on carpet, or here I've got furniture sliders. Same thing, I'm trying to keep the hip at the same height. I'm trying to keep that protraction through the scapula and trying to keep the shoulders forwards of the hands. Again, same amount of weight or less amount of weight as you slide the feet in. Now this is probably one of the most commonly used drills nowadays to get the tuck planche, is to use a band assist. Now we have a couple of options with the band assist. We can put it around our hips, which is what I'd recommend most people aim for. But if you're lacking the control and you want to have a go with the band assist, you can put it around your ankles, which is slightly easier. Now we can adjust the thickness of the band, the position, so where you are relative to the band and the attachment point, and ideally you would be on a ring or a strap where you can adjust the height of the band. Now my preference would be to stay with a tight tuck position here, because we want to try and get away from the band as soon as possible and replicate this tuck planche position. Another option, if you don't have a band but you want to progress to get the toes off the floor, is to go to something like, I think it's called a crane pose in yoga, or like a straight arm crow pose. And again, we're trying to replicate the shoulder, protraction, hip position, and everything to try and make it as close to the real thing as possible. Now there is lots of different variations of those exercises that I've gone through, but those are my favorite ones. And then it will just be testing that tuck planche and see if you can get into the position. So notice the straight arms, the protracted scapula, and the height of the hip. We're aiming to get that hip in line with the shoulder and everything to be tight in one segment. And again, ideally hitting 10-second repetitions for multiple sets. Now my goal and what I'm currently working on is that straddle planche position, and I've been playing with some single leg versions and messing around with some other ideas. So they're my favorite exercises on the tuck planche. I personally use them with clients and I use them as my warm-up. So today I use as a warm-up before I went into some sets of some straddle planche. Let me know in the comments or send me a message if you have any questions on those. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.